Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video. I am really excited to be doing this one. Last few videos I did were my testimony, and this video I really just want to sort of dive into my time in Crestone. I want to dive into this town called Crestone, Colorado, if you don't remember from my last video. Crestone, Colorado is this town right in the middle of Colorado, and it's basically a place of love, a place of high energy, and a lot of very spiritual people. There's several temples there. There's a Buddhist temple. There's actually a few Buddhist temples. There's also many Buddhist pyramids called ziggurats, I believe. Maybe they're called something else. And there's a Hindu temple, there's Zen there is all kinds of stuff going on. Native American people worshiping, there's all kinds of different churches there too. Very small population, but very active community. They plant trees there in town, and they do all sorts of, they've got a flea market there, and they've got a market on Saturdays on top of that. They've got all sorts of stuff going on in this town, many different types of people, and they're all very spiritual. At least a large population of locals are very spiritual. And I just want to talk to you about the things I learned while I spent my time there. And this isn't even all of it. This is just what one man told me. So I'm going to tell you about the man who brought me into town. The man who brought me into Crestone's name was Curtis, and he picked me up on this highway that leads into town. There's only one highway that goes into town, and it's the same highway that goes out of town. So you have one way into Crestone and one way out on this highway. It's a very sort of secluded community in the San Luis Valley, surrounded by mountains. It's actually on the cliffside of some of the mountains. And there's all sorts of stuff going on there. So this man, his name was Curtis, and Curtis was very well known in the community. I believe he had something to do with one of the churches there, and also he was very active in the charter school that is in this town too. So Curtis taught me several things. What he told me on this way into town was, and it was a short ride, it was about 15 minutes, maybe even less, maybe 10-minute drive into town that he took me on. The very first thing that Curtis told me when he picked me up is he asked me, "What are your intentions? Why are you coming into town?" And I told him my intention for coming to Crestone. My intention was to seek God, to find my purpose, and to discover why I'm here, and discover more about myself, and to discover God, because that was my intention going out on this hitchhike. And so he picked me up. He was happy to see me, and he was very talkative. So we got to talking about my personal spiritual path, and he wanted to give me some advice. So he told me several things that were very actually helpful, very helpful in my path, and things that I really needed to hear, I believe, at that time. He told me that I don't know much. He basically told me that the things that I know are so little and so meaningless compared to the things that I am going to find out, and the things that God has yet to teach me. And the things, not only that God has yet to teach me, but the things that maybe God won't ever teach me. So he basically told me and got me into a perspective where I was no longer relying on my own intellect. So Curtis told me that I don't know much, and that was very good for me to hear. I was sort of in a prideful sort of mindset where in the recent past, before I got to Crestone, I was thinking that the things I knew about spirituality, the things I knew about this wider viewpoint that I had gained compared to, my viewpoint in high school, my worldview back then, this wider viewpoint made me feel like I was superior in a way to a lot of the population of humanity. I thought I was very woke, very awakened, and very, very smart about, and I thought I knew my stuff. And Curtis helped me to sort of get out of that mindset. He helped me realize that there is a lot that I have to learn still. So he told me I don't know much. And the weird thing was, though, I asked Curtis if he considered himself to be wise. He basically just told me that I'm not as wise as I thought I was, that I didn't know wisdom quite yet. And he told me that no, he doesn't think he's wise. He didn't say that he was wise. He actually told me he was not wise, and he didn't consider himself to be wise. And that's important to know, because Curtis is one of the most wise people I have ever come across, I believe. So when we realize what we don't know, we become sort of like children. We open up to this sense of wonder and mystery at the world, and the fact that there's so much going on that we don't have a clue about yet. And anyone can really feel this way. Anyone can feel this way. Rocket scientists exist, and these rocket scientists, though they may know a lot about rocket science, what do they know about the life of an ant? What do they know about how the clouds form? What do they know about all these other things, And it's important to keep in mind that, like, we really don't. When it comes down to it, the things that we can possibly know in this life are so minuscule compared to the infinite knowledge of God, which is all wisdom and all understanding, all truth. And, compared to what's going on in the world, compared to how things are, what reality is, we really don't know what's going on very much. At least, we don't have the capacity right now to understand how everything works. We have the capacity to understand how very little works, and to have enough of an understanding to be able to make our way through and sort of tell ourselves that we know what's going on, when in reality, we have a lot that we can learn. So we become like children. We have this sense of wonder opened up, and we have this sense of anything could happen, and we can learn anything. There's so much more that we can do, and there's so much more to do, to learn about. So having this childlike sense of wonder is talked about in the Bible. We're not going to walk into heaven and be able to know what's going on there because of how amazing it's going to be. We're not going to really be able to understand that. We're going to be like children. We're going to be like children. We're going to be jumping for joy and just wanting to know everything, and asking questions and all that type of stuff. So Curtis had a curiosity and wonder at the world. He had this curiosity and wonder and understanding of his relationship to God in his own life, that he was relying on the wisest one, the God who created us. He was relying on God for wisdom, and therefore he had infinite wisdom. He had exactly what I needed, and I heard exactly what I needed to hear from him. The agnostics. So, as far as childlike sense of wonder goes, agnostics in this world, their belief is that if presented with the right evidence, if presented with the proof that God exists, then they'll believe in a God. And agnostics a lot of times believe in a higher power. They don't know what exactly it is, though, and things like that. The actual Gnostics, which you can check out this book if you want to get to know the difference between Gnostic Christians and Orthodox Christianity, Gnosticism is a sort of branch of Christianity that started pretty soon after Christianity was established, and they have additional scripture that they look to as the hidden knowledge that they have and that they therefore are more enlightened by. They need knowledge to become enlightened. And this is the works of a lot of the Gnostic Gospels, the Gnostic texts. It's called Nag Hammadi because that's where they were discovered in Egypt at this town called Nag Hammadi. And so if you want to get to know what Gnosticism is, the Gnostic Gospels, you can even Google it and, you can use Wikipedia or whatever, but if you really want to understand the difference, Gnostic Gospels by Elaine Pagels is a very, very good resource for that. And Gnosticism, since they seek knowledge, since they are seekers of knowledge and they think that this knowledge will bring them more enlightenment, the more you know, the more enlightened you are, is basically their beliefs. They are seeking this knowledge, and agnostics are seeking evidence. What I believe is that God reveals his truth to people when they truly seek him and when they're ready for it, and God will be revealed to you inside of you, and sort of like epiphanies, sort of like realizations, things like that, which is definitely how I've gotten to know God, is many, many epiphanies. It's not reading the Nag Hammadi scriptures that brought me revelation. Reading the Bible has brought me a lot of good stuff, a lot of good understandings and things, and sort of diving deeper into what God has already revealed to me. A lot of what my relationship with God is based upon is epiphanies and realizations and just personal experiences and understandings. I was seeking experiences for a long time too, and that's something that maybe a lot of people are seeking. Even Christians are seeking experiences, and God knows everything in our hearts. He knows everything in our minds, everything we think, say, and do. So make sure you're seeking deep inside your heart, really looking into your heart and discovering like the intentions behind what you're doing, why you're doing it, and really seeking God's face, really truly seeking God's face with the intent to know God, not the intent to disprove anything, but seeking him like a child and knowing that whatever you come across, whatever is revealed to you, you are able to accept with an open mind of a child, just because it's the truth that God's willing to present to you. It's the truth that God is willing to share with you, and you have to be willing to accept that before God is able to give that to you, give that knowledge to you, give that truth and evidence and understanding to. And the evidence is out there, guys. Like, if you do enough research into it, the evidence is really out there, which I will be doing more videos on in the future too. To touch on atheism, where that falls in the whole childlike wonder thing, atheism is not based in what science knows. It's actually based in what science doesn't know, and what science doesn't know is if God exists or not. And therefore atheism is honestly like a faith. You have to have faith to not believe in God just as much as you have to have faith to believe in God. And that's the honest truth, because if you look into science, you can make the claim that it disproves certain stories in the Bible. Maybe they weren't written to be taken literally, but more metaphorically. On top of that, there's a lot about the world and reality that we don't know, and it's important to understand that. And quantum physics is actually proving just how much we don't know. It seems like the more that quantum physics discovers and the more that new science discovers, the more it seems like we don't know really what's going on. So check out quantum physics if you're interested. But atheism, you have to have faith. You have to have faith that science basically is God. That you have to have faith that because science hasn't proved God right, you trust science more than you trust science more than you trust anything else. So because you can have that evidence, because you can have the linear expression, the linear discoveries, the equations and things like that, because you have that, that's what you believe, because it's something that you can hold and you can feel it, you can touch and you can see. But it all goes back to understanding that we don't know much. Just like Curtis said, we don't know much, and science knows that for itself. Like, the amount that science doesn't know, it far outweighs the amount that science knows right now. And it seems like it just goes on for eternity, which is honestly the truth. And who is eternal? God is eternal. God is the only one. And that's what the Bible explains. So don't rely on your own intellect. Proverbs 3:5-7, I'll just read that right now. Proverbs 3:5-7 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil." So Proverbs 3:5 basically says that we can't rely on our own understanding. We as humans cannot rely on our own understanding, even if that means, like, you can never rely on your own understanding. You can never rely on the things that you've discovered. You can't rely on the things you know about science, or the things you know about the Nag Hammadi scriptures, or the things you know about lost books of the Bible, or the things you know about whatever it is, New Age, shamanism, Eastern philosophy, consciousness, things like that. You can't rely on your own understanding. And to put it simply, that's because when we have God in our lives, we look at the world with a sense of childlike wonder, and knowing that we don't know much, knowing that there's a whole lot that can be revealed to us, and that we still need to seek God. We will never be sufficient in our own understanding, therefore we need God to sort of fill in the gaps for us and to lead us through this life. The second thing Curtis said to me, well, maybe this video is getting a little long, so I might cut it short, but he told me 3 different things. The first thing I talked about in this video is "you don't know much," is what he told me, and that opened me up to childlike wonder, that opened me up to not relying on my own understanding, and that opened me up just a whole lot in my own mind to be able to let other things be presented to me, because I was now more receptive to them, and I was able to really grasp them when they were revealed to me, because I knew that I still had a long ways to go. So that sort of paved the way for me to let more knowledge, let more understanding, let more epiphanies and realizations and revelations come into my life. So to end this video, I will be making 2 more videos on the other things that Curtis taught me and Curtis told me. So I'll leave some links in my description box to the Sprecher page that I have. It's where I do podcasting, that you guys can sort of keep up with things that are going on, and I pray that you guys can see God moving in the world around you, that you can hear God speaking to you in everything that happens in your life, and in all the events, and through all the people that you are come in contact with, and that you can understand what God is teaching you, and keep moving forward. Keep moving forward on your path. Keep moving forward in your own understanding. Thanks, guys, for watching once again, and I look forward to making these next few videos. So you guys have an awesome rest of your day. God bless you. Peace.